Hi, I'm Rune Stokkebekk, purchaser in Guideline and also part of the product development team. We're down here in Spain and enjoying some early season trout fishing. I thought I'd take a little time to give you a few tips about my favorite picks for the river fishing during the season. The season have not started yet in Scandinavia, so there's still time to tie some flies if you fancy copying some of mine. And here comes a parachute done. This fly has been my favorite fly for more than 20 years. In Scandinavia we have a species called Ephemerella avrivili, which is quite large mayflies, about size 12. And we also have the heptagenids, sulfurea, so sulfurvilli is kind of both. And the color is on this fly is light olive with a more like a brown olive thorax. Has a ginger grizzly hackle, brown CDC wings and split tails. And this fly I use from 14 and 16 are good sizing for this fly, and it's a very important river fly in Scandinavia in the first half of the season. I would say from about mid-June until second week of July. This is a must-have fly. The second fly I like to present is could be my own pattern. I made this fly about 25 years ago. It's just called the CDC Midge. And midges are around all summer and very important food for trout, and I think in general like small black stuff is often very good. I use these on lakes and also on rivers, all kinds of waters, and tie them from quite big, like size 15 and down to less than 21s. The body in this fly is just regular black superfine dubbing, and I use the Tiemco Aero dry wing in a tan color for the wing. And then I use the cocky CDC and spin like a hackle and brush it a little bit. This fly can represent different kinds of small black flies, gnats, chironomids, and are in general very good flies when you don't know what trout is feeding on. And it can also look like a cluster of tiny midges when it drifts down the river. It's a must-have fly in the box, and it never let me down. When fish are feeding subsurface, simple patterns like shuttle cooks are quite often very productive. This is one type that I have. It's just a simple fly. I make the body in these flies with tying thread and just rib them with body quill, for instance, or you can do like a standard peacock quill body. I have some natural dubbing in the thorax, either from squirrel, this is a black squirrel dub, or even hare's-ear, and 2 or 3 CDC feathers depending on the size of the hook. This is a type of fly that can imitate several types of insects, not only midges, which is more looking like, but can also be like a mayfly nymphs. The trout don't count the tails, and it's a good general fly when you see those tiny rises not fully breaking the surface. The fourth fly I like to present is a favorite I use all season as a searching pattern. This is a flying ant, and it's tied in size 12. And this size is the most common size I use in the spring. May and June we have the common wood ant flying around in the forest, and every now and then fall on the surface and give some action. And it doesn't take a long time for the trout to find these flies when they hit the water. And it seems like they remember them as well, because they're always good. This fly is made out of it's foam in the back of this body, and superfine dubbing underneath the foam. And then I use a rusty colored tying thread, so we have this kind of red segment in the middle together with the brown hackle. And the wings in this fly are made out of organza as an underwing to give a little bit of that sparkling effect that you get when the land crashes on the water. You know, the ants, they tend to fly on nice and sunny days. There is some sparkling in this wing, and I have found that this works really well. And to make it float even better, I have some CDC on top of the organza, and also regular superfine dubbing in the front. This fly you can also use for dry and dropper fishing. You can put on like a buzzer in the end of the fly, or you can even fish it in the river with a small mayfly nymph. It's a very versatile pattern. So here comes another mayfly. This one is a small one. This is a size 20. And these have dark pardo tails, and the body is almost black. And the thorax is black, and the wings are brown. This fly imitates species of Leptophlebia mayflies, which are common in our lakes in Norway. And I use it for that fishing in May, but it's also a really good fly when the trout is feeding on small dark whiteys like iron blues and those kind of guys. It's a must-have pattern for the rivers I fish. And here comes a favorite that right now is quite big. This is a spent spinner. After the mayflies have hatched and made their way to the trees, not eaten by the trouts, they sit there for some time, and then they pull off their coat and transform into what is called an imago, which is the final stage for the mayflies. Spent spinners is very important flies where I fish, and particularly this style is my favorite, which is made out of hackle wrapped around the hook, and then you kind of figure eight the wings and separate it to one bunch at either side. The rest of the fly is nothing special. In this one I actually have some faux bucktail as tails, but you can use hackle fibers, fibbets, coquetillions, split or not, it's not so important. And do them in sizes from, I would say, like 12 and down to 20. You are very well covered. This is my favorite for the evening, and in my group of friends we have this saying that after 8 o'clock in the evening it's time to put the spents on, especially if it's sunny and nice. And it's also a very good fly for just search fishing, you know. Sometimes you come to the river early in the morning and there's still stuff floating down from the evening before, and if you find some nice back eddies, special typical places where food gathers up, these type of flies can be extremely productive. Now comes a little funny fly here. This is kind of a hybrid thing. Originally, this is a Rene Haro pattern that I have just tweaked a little bit. It's made out of antron in the tail, which is supposed to look like a trailing shuck. So this is an merger, and I have biot in the body. I have CDC wings, and the main idea then is to present just a silhouette from the underside that could be like an emerging nymph. But it's also a good fly when they're taking duns, and when we look at this fly here, you can see the wings are tilting backwards, and that can be an important trigger actually when trout is getting very selective on certain types of mayflies. They pick those that have this wing facing backwards, and if yours is more pointing forwards, we have discovered that that could be the small adjustment in the fly to save the day. The final fly I want to present is this small baby. And this is a little bit different than many other types of comparator, and it has very strange proportions. It's made out of pardo tails, coquetillions. It has peacock quill in the body, dyed golden olive, about those ready-made, like Polish quills for instance. It has some brown superfine dubbing in the thorax and natural brown CDC wings, or khaki as they are called. And this one has really short body compared to the length of the wing and length of the tails. There's a reason for that. This fly I use a lot when the ignitas are hatching home. And when we look at the ignitas when it's floating down the rivers, these small mayflies, they are afraid of water and sits really light on their feet, and the abdomen is curving up. So what the trout is actually seeing may be half the size of the fly. So we get a little bit maybe strange proportions, but it has proven itself to work, and it has given me some of my best memories with trout fishing in my life so far. That is my favorite river flies. Must-have ones. I have tons more, but when I summarize, after the season is over, I will see that maybe I caught more than 50% of all the fish on these flies I just presented to you, so they're worth having in the fly box.